Esther 2 verse 15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail the uncle of Mordecai who had taken her as his daughter, came to go in to the king, she did not request anything except what Hegai the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the women, advised. And Esther found favor in the eyes of all who saw her. The story of Esther takes place during the time when many Jews were living in exile in the Persian Empire. King Ahasuerus was searching for a new queen, and young women from across the empire were brought to the palace. Esther was one of them. At first glance, this verse may seem like a small detail in a larger story. Yet it reveals several qualities that made Esther stand out and provides valuable lessons for believers today. Esther displayed humility. When Esther's turn came to appear before the king, she did not request anything except what Hegai advised. Unlike many others who may have tried to impress the king with excessive jewelry, extravagant clothing, or their own ideas of what would attract attention, Esther was willing to listen. Humility is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, humility is strength under control. It is recognizing that we do not know everything and being willing to receive wisdom from others. Our culture frequently encourages self-promotion. We are told to build our brand, make ourselves stand out, and ensure everyone notices us. While there is nothing wrong with using our gifts and abilities, Esther reminds us that humility and teachability remain attractive qualities. Proverbs 11:2 says, "When pride comes, then comes dishonor, but with the humble is wisdom." NASB being teachable in marriage, friendships, work, and church relationships demonstrates maturity rather than insecurity. Esther had inner beauty. The verse concludes by saying, Esther found favor in the eyes of all who saw her. Certainly, Esther was physically attractive. Earlier in the chapter, Scripture acknowledges her beauty. However, physical beauty alone does not usually win the admiration of all who saw her. There was something more. People notice kindness. People notice gentleness. People notice confidence that does not demand attention. People notice a peaceful spirit. There is an inner beauty that no cosmetic product can manufacture and no passing years can erase. The Apostle Peter later emphasized this principle. Your adornment must not be merely external, but let it be the hidden person of the heart. 1 Peter 3-3-4, NASB. God values character above appearance. Trusting God in uncertain seasons, Esther did not choose her circumstances. She was an orphan raised by her cousin Mordecai. She found herself taken into the king's palace during a situation largely beyond her control. Yet God was quietly working. One remarkable aspect of the book of Esther is that God's name is never explicitly mentioned. Nevertheless, his fingerprints are everywhere. Through ordinary choices, unexpected circumstances, and faithful obedience, God was arranging events that would ultimately save his people. Many people today live in seasons they never would have chosen: an unexpected illness, financial hardship, loneliness, family conflict, career disappointment, waiting for prayers that seem unanswered. You may wonder where God is because you cannot see him moving. Esther reminds us that God's silence is not God's absence. Even when you cannot trace his hand, you can trust his heart. The Lord is often working behind the scenes, preparing circumstances that we cannot yet understand. Relevant for today. In a world obsessed with filters, appearances, followers, and carefully curated images, Esther 20:15 calls believers to a different way of living. Be humble enough to listen. Be wise enough to seek godly counsel. Develop character more than image. Let your inner life reflect God's transforming work. Trust God when life feels confusing. The qualities that truly matter before God are not measured by popularity, beauty standards, wealth, or status. They are measured by faithfulness, humility, wisdom, and a heart surrendered to him. Esther walked into the king's presence with simplicity, grace, and trust. She did not rely on extravagance to gain favor. God used an ordinary young woman with an extraordinary character to accomplish his purposes. The same God still works through ordinary people today. You may not stand before a king, but you stand before opportunities every day to reflect Christ through your attitude, your choices, and your character. And often, it is not the loudest voice or the most impressive appearance that God uses most powerfully. It is the humble heart that is willing to trust and obey him.